The day of Grandfather William's will reading wasn't supposed to be like this. I stood in the corner of his grand study, watching my stepsister Victoria parade around as though she already owned everything. In a way she did. The preliminary will had left her nearly everything, while I got nothing but a small box of old photographs. It's only right, Victoria smirked, adjusting her designer blazer. After all, I'm the one who visited him every weekend, who helped with his business meetings, who was there at every family dinner. What she didn't mention was how she had systematically worked to keep me away from Grandfather for the past 5 years. The mysterious schedule conflicts, whenever I tried to visit, the private dinners I was excluded from, the lost messages that never reached me. Emily, my father called from across the room. He stood awkwardly beside my stepmother, Diana. Come sit down. Mr. Patterson is about to begin. Mr. Patterson, the family lawyer, shuffled his papers. I had known him since childhood. He had been Grandfather's friend as much as his lawyer. Today, however, he wouldn't meet my eyes. As per the most recent will, dated 3 months ago, he began, the estate of William Montgomery Sr., including Montgomery Industries and all associated properties, will pass to Victoria Chen Montgomery. The summer house in Cape Cod goes to Diana Montgomery. And to Emily Montgomery. He paused, glancing at me apologetically. A collection of family photographs and personal effects. Victoria's triumphant laugh cut through the silence. Finally. What a real daughter deserves. My face burned. 5 years of manipulation had paid off for her. 5 years since Diana had married my father and brought Victoria into our lives. First she stole my father's attention, then my place in the family, and now my inheritance. There is one additional matter, Mr. Patterson added, his voice strangely firm. Mr. Montgomery left specific instructions about his personal safe. Victoria waved dismissively. I already have the combination. Grandfather gave it to me months ago. Actually, Mr. Patterson said, there's a second safe. Behind the portrait of his late wife. The room fell silent. My gaze drifted to the painting of my grandmother, Elizabeth. The woman I had never met, though I'd heard so many stories. The portrait had hung in Grandfather's study for decades. That's impossible, Victoria snapped. I've been in this room hundreds of times. There's no safe. Mr. Patterson carefully lifted the portrait. Behind it was a sleek digital safe I had never seen before. The combination, he said clearly, is Emily's birthday. My heart stopped. Victoria's face flushed crimson. No. There must be some mistake. Grandfather would never. But Mr. Patterson was already typing the numbers. November 24, 1995. The safe clicked open. Inside was a single USB drive and an envelope with my name written in Grandfather's distinctive handwriting. What is that? Diana demanded, stepping forward. Whatever it is, it belongs to Victoria now, the will clearly states. The will, Mr. Patterson interrupted, doesn't cover items in this safe. These were left under separate instruction. With trembling hands, I opened the envelope and began to read. My dearest Emily, if you are reading this, then everything has happened as I feared it might. The changes to my will, my apparent distance from you, it was all part of a plan. 5 years ago, I discovered something disturbing about Victoria and Diana's past, something that made me realize they were not who they claimed to be. But I could not confront them directly. I needed proof. So, I played along with their game, watching as they manipulated their way into our family. While they thought they were winning, I was gathering evidence. The USB drive contains everything. The fraudulent documents, the recorded conversations, the money trails. Most importantly, it contains my true will, digitally signed and legally binding, dated just 1 week ago. Victoria is not who she claims to be, Emily. She isn't even Diana's real daughter. Keep reading, my dear granddaughter. The truth changes everything. Grandfather. I looked up from the letter to find the room in chaos. Victoria was screaming at Mr. Patterson to open the safe again. Diana was frantically whispering into her phone. My father was staring at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Mr. Patterson, I said quietly, holding up the USB drive. I believe we need to see what's on this. The real story was just beginning. For the first time in 5 years, I felt Grandfather's presence beside me, guiding me toward the truth. Victoria's perfectly crafted world was about to shatter. And I had front row seats to watch it fall. Mr. Patterson connected the USB to grandfather's computer. The large screen flickered to life. This is ridiculous. Victoria lunged forward. I demand we stop this right now. Sit down, Victoria, Mr. Patterson said firmly, or I'll have security escort you out. The first file opened. A birth certificate. Victoria's birth certificate. But it wasn't the one she had shown the family. This one listed a different mother, a different date, a different place of birth. What is this? My father whispered. Keep watching, I said, grandfather's letter clutched tightly in my hand. The next document on the screen was a series of emails between Diana and someone named Margaret Chen. My heart stopped as I read them aloud. The plan is working perfectly. William believes you're my daughter. Once we get the inheritance, we'll split it 70-30 as agreed. The real Victoria will never know her identity was stolen. Diana's face went pale. Those emails are fake. Actually, Mr. Patterson interrupted, his tone firm, they're not. Your entire plot is documented here. How you found out about the real Victoria Chen, who was given up for adoption at birth. How you obtained her birth records. How you crafted this entire deception. More files appeared on the screen. Bank statements showing regular payments to Margaret Chen, altered medical records, and finally, a video. Grandfather's face filled the screen, dated just 2 weeks ago. Emily, he began, if you're watching this, then everything has come to light. 5 years ago, I received an anonymous letter warning me about Diana and her supposed daughter. At first I didn't believe it. But something felt wrong. The way they pushed you aside, the way they tried to isolate me from you. So I hired investigators. What they uncovered was shocking. He paused, his eyes heavy with both sorrow and determination. The woman claiming to be Victoria, he continued, is an actress named Rachel Turner. Diana hired her to play the role of her daughter. The real Victoria Chen lives in Seattle, never knowing her identity was stolen. Lies. Rachel shouted, springing to her feet. You can't prove any of this. Actually, Mr. Patterson said coolly, we can. The police are already involved. They're waiting outside. As if on cue, 2 detectives entered the study. Diana burst into tears while Rachel tried to run, but they stopped her before she reached the door. And now, Mr. Patterson said, opening another file, the real will. On the screen, grandfather's true wishes appeared. Everything, the company, the properties, the estate, was left to me. But there was a condition. I had to find the real Victoria Chen and make things right. The next hour blurred by in a storm of police statements and legal documents. I watched as Diana and Rachel were led away in handcuffs. My father stood beside me, shaken, repeating over and over, I'm so sorry, Emily. I had no idea. Later that evening, alone in grandfather's study, my study now, I found one last letter in the safe. Tucked inside was a small key. My dearest Emily, by now you know the truth, but there's one last thing. The key enclosed opens a deposit box at First National. Inside you'll find everything you need to locate the real Victoria Chen. She deserves to know her true identity. And you, my brave granddaughter, deserve to have a real sister. I'm sorry I had to put you through this deception. Watching you suffer while I gathered evidence was the hardest thing I've ever done. But I knew you were strong enough to endure it. You're Montgomery after all. Remember, success isn't just about wealth or power. It's about doing what's right even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. All my love. Grandfather. 1 week later, I stood outside a small coffee shop in Seattle. Inside sat a young woman with my grandfather's eyes and my grandmother's smile. The real Victoria Chen. She was a kindergarten teacher, adopted at birth, never knowing her true heritage. Miss Chen? I asked, approaching her table. I'm Emily Montgomery, and I have quite a story to tell you. He looked up, curious. Montgomery, why does that name sound familiar? I sat down and placed grandfather's photo album between us. Because it's your name too. And I think it's time you learned about your real family. As I opened the album to show her grandfather's face, I smiled, knowing he was watching over both of us. Diana and Rachel were now facing fraud charges. My father was finally in therapy, dealing with his guilt. Me. I was exactly where I belonged, running the company grandfather had built and gaining something I never expected. A real sister. Sometimes justice comes in unexpected ways. Sometimes the truth takes time to emerge. And sometimes, just sometimes, a grandfather's love can reach beyond the grave to make everything right again. As Victoria and I talked late into the evening, sharing stories and discovering our bond, I realized this wasn't just about an inheritance anymore. It was about family, real family. Grandfather, in his wisdom, had given me the greatest gift of all, the truth. The company would thrive under my leadership. The real Victoria would finally learn about her heritage and choose her own path. And somewhere I knew grandfather was smiling, because his final plan had worked perfectly. Justice had been served. Not with revenge. Not with anger. But with truth. And with love.